Awesome. Well, I never knew my brother for being someone with a lot of words, but he went a little long there. So we'll try to keep this on time. So I'm Erik Lien, the good kind of lean, not the kind of leans we were talking about earlier today. And I have with me Sergio and Nate from Columbia Grain. So just want you quickly introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about Columbia Grain.
Yeah. We are a grain and pulse company, primarily in the Northern Plains, Idaho, Washington, Montana, North Dakota. We do have a location in Nebraska. Right around 55 locations between everything there. So a little over 400 employees, 350 to 400 employees. So yeah, it's a little bit about us.
Nate, where do you work out of?
I'm out of our Great Falls office. I'm a grain originator. I'm from Great Falls, Montana, and I've been waiting all day to say this. Go Bobcats, because I did go to Bozeman. So that one's been coming for a while. So thanks for having us out, and hopefully we can get some questions answered for you.
Cool. All right, so I'm going to start with getting started with bushel. So Sergio, what motivated Columbia Grain to invest in a CRM platform?
So when I came on board, we had an in-house, and Nate can help a little bit on this. We had an in-house CRM tool, and we called it Saturn, and it was created and managed by our IT department. And the problem with that was we didn't support it very well. We had a lot of folks out in the country, employees out in the country that, hey, can we update this, or can it do this? Can it interact with ag tech? Our ERP system there, and we couldn't do any of that. And our CEO, along with our leadership team, really pushed a CRM because just like everyone else, you go through your turnover, right? And when you go through your turnover, where's that customer information? Are we updating that customer information? Are we keeping it relevant, ready for the next person to come on board and to be able to use it? And we just weren't doing that. And so that's where Erik came in, and we were already a part of Bushel in the portal, the customer portal there, and in our own use for it. He's like, hey, we've got this CRM tool coming out. Do you want to use it and want to try it out? And one of the best things that happened there was Erik came out to our locations, and he was talking to our employees, a little road trip, getting to know Erik, talk about this CRM, how we can use it, and things of that nature. And so we signed up for it, and we're tracking it. You know, a lot, just like everything else change, you know, it takes a little bit of time to accept something new, it takes a lot of pushing, you know, how do we stay on top of it? So we're getting a lot of reports from Erik on who's using it, and during our weekly calls, we push that down to our location manager, say, hey, let's get this information out there, let's use this tool that we have. It's a really good tool. So it's been really great for us, and it's accepted through most of the country, or through most of the elevators, but we still have some work to do there.
Awesome. Nate, going back to that CRM you had before, I believe you used that too. What were some of the challenges in using that system from before?
Yeah, so one of the big ones there was just being able to track our notes. We couldn't go back and edit things, so if we were keeping track of how many bushels a producer had of something, if we bought some of that, we couldn't go back and update it. There was just no way for that to do. It would crash pretty often on us. Enter it all in, and before you could save it, you would spend like 2 hours of entering stuff, and then it's just gone. So pretty disappointing in that. And then like Sergio said, it wasn't really friendly with ag tech and connecting it. And then because it was created in-house, once the IT people who had created it left, there was really no going back and updating anything. So it didn't change with time, to put it that way.
Cool. Let's talk about internal adoption. We talk a lot at Bushel about, you know, external adoption, getting our farmers to use the Bushel tools. This is really a tool for you guys internally. So I want to talk a little bit, you know, maybe a little bit of a different challenge of getting your internal users to use the CRM. So Sergio, why did you feel it was important to engage those internal teams as far as rolling out the CRM? And you mentioned the road shows that we went on.
you know, like I mentioned earlier, the biggest part of that, and unfortunately, you know, we're dealing with it in our industry and a lot of other industries, is the turnover that you have there, and that information that individual has, and when they leave, you know, what do we have for the next person to come in, and so that's the biggest piece. And again, our CEO was a big pusher of this, a big pusher of CRMs, and back in the day when he was coming up, and I still do myself. I've got a notebook of just a bunch of notes, right? A lot of folks in this room that probably have that same thing and maybe still use it today. But how do we get that information? How do we keep it there for that next individual to come in to be able to use it, kind of hit the ground running? So they're not left in the dark, whether it's somebody coming in, just graduated, new to the industry, or somebody who's been around for a long time, just has never been in that footprint. So that's the biggest push there is the information that we can just keep going from person to person to person.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, and I was just saying on that note, I've seen it happen. The origination process that I'm a part of right now, I buy for a location that's 2 hours away from where I'm at, so I'm very remote. There was another gal who worked with us, and she's since moved on, but we hired a new person to fulfill that. And we were using the Bushel CRM at that time, so when the new one came in, it was kind of cool to see all the data get entered, and then the new one come in and pick right up where the other one left off. So it made for a very smooth transition on that aspect of as well.
Awesome. One thing I will say that Columbia did really well was your leadership support. You know, from your CEO Jeff down to you, Sergio, you guys did a really great job of, you know, letting your employees know this is what we want to do, this is why we're doing it. It's funny because I went out and visited the Montana location, and Nate and another gentleman named Greg, and I get off the plane in a snowy Great Falls in the winter, and I get there, and Greg's first thing that comes out of his mouth is he goes, Erik, I just don't know if CRM is for us. So we were off to a great start there, but throughout talking with him and kind of saying, you know, this is why we're doing this. It's not just for data entry. We're doing it for, like Nate said, for others to come in and learn. And one thing I heard from you guys was you have a really, you know, older generation that, you know, of the staff, and then you have a really great younger generation, and you want to transfer that knowledge. So Nate, you know, I think you kind of talked a little bit about that, but you know, just that transfer of knowledge is great. So
Yeah, so Greg is my boss, so I won't be too bad on him, but he's the old cranky guy who's been with the company for 43 years, and he's awesome. And his big thing was, we don't need any technology to help us do this. He's the old guy that handwrites it. That was his CRM, keeps it in his desk drawer. After Erik had flown out and talked with us by the end of that meeting, and after walking through it, I don't know, we probably spent 5 hours. It wasn't that intense or anything, but once he saw it, when we got done, he was like, holy, this is awesome. And his whole shift just went from anti-technology to keeping track of his data to, wow, this is really user-friendly, and an old guy like myself. I mean, you go back to this morning's talk about chaos, it kind of was that mesh right there of, well, it's not as bad as I thought it was gonna be. So, and we've been working with him. Greg's had some great input on the next step where we wanna go with it. So you get the old guy involved, it's totally gonna trickle down from there, so.
Was he the one you were talking about yesterday about the speaking in the phone, the app, and being able to write the notes?
Oh,
yeah. So, yeah, it helps when you can, you have that ability, right? You can speak in the phone and it just writes it out for you versus, so it takes one less thing out of there for those folks who...
He doesn't have to chicken pack.
Right. Yeah, especially on an iPhone, right? A little bit at a time.
Yeah. Has the CRM changed the speed or the quality of your internal or even your customer-facing communication, Sergio?
Yeah, it has, and I've got a really good example of that. So we have one of our originators in our Villa Minto area. He buys dry beans for us. We've got a couple of plants in that area where we clean dry beans, and Cody is out there. He runs one of those plants. But anyway, he was talking to a farmer. His brother and his father about selling some dry beans. Well, the brother he was talking to, he went ahead and sold, but the other brother and the father, they weren't ready to sell. So they held off a little bit, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks. He calls back, the brother that he was dealing with that went ahead and sold what he needed to sell, calls back a couple, 2 or 3 weeks later, and he's asking about his brother and his dad's contracts and, you know, what they sold for. He's like, well, they didn't sell anything. And of course, he got all upset and, you know, you were supposed to sell for me, my brother, and my father. And thankfully, he had written everything in the CRM tool, in the CRM there. You know, what they were doing, what they wanted to do, why they weren't ready to sell, the price wasn't right. And just like it goes, usually our bid went down, and so that made him even more upset. So he was able to take that information, go out to the farm, visit with the farmer, and show him, hey, here's our conversation, here's what we spoke about, and here's your dad and your brother just weren't ready to sell at the time. And so obviously his attitude changed about that, right? And he apologized, yeah, and things like that nature. But that's just one story, right? There's so many opportunities out there for us to use this tool, because those kinds of things happen so often, especially in today's market, right? And so we keep pushing that, and those are the kinds of things. We have a weekly call every Monday, and those are wins. You know, we talk about those wins. I try to put those out there to our other managers and our originators to say, hey, this is a tool that we can use, and here's how it helps. Let's make sure that we're using it, and we're paying for it too. So, right, you want to get your money's worth out of it.
Awesome. Nate, more practically today, you know, what does your day-to-day with CRM look like when you're doing your daily tasks and talking with your clients or growers?
So I use Bushel every day. When I get to the office, it's one of the first tabs that I pull up. I record every conversation that I have with a producer, and it keeps me from having the same conversation twice. So super massive on that. I pull it up, search whichever producer I'm talking to. I can see right where I left off. We've got something coming down the pipeline with a bin chart that we've been working with Bushel with. So we'll be able to track who's got what, which is going to be huge. And then also a big part of working with the CRM too internally is we overlap producers. So if I'm talking to someone and another elevator's talking to him, we might always have the opportunity to let each other know right away. I can see what Erik has put in and pick up right where he left off as well. And also when we have, like me being here right now, I've got someone who's filling in for me. So if one of my producers reaches out to her, she's got all that data access right then and there. So I use it every single day, tracks all my information, keeps everything up to date. Yeah.
Awesome. Question for both of you, and maybe Sergio from more of a high level, and then maybe Nate from more of a day-to-day. But you know, for any organizations that are either on CRM today or looking at adding CRM to the Bushel tools that they use, you know, what would you recommend they focus on? Maybe Sergio, for you, as they're looking at it.
For us, it's been really great having Erik as our CRM, just because he's been able to visit our locations and really support CRM. He's really asking the questions on how can it be better for our business, right? And he's taking that information, and it's not going in one ear and out the other. It's taking it back to the office, and they're making the changes, right? And so that's been really great to see that, hey, we want a better product that's out there. And so for me, it's, if you're thinking about it, you know, have these guys come out, visit you, but not only you, get your folks out in the country involved, because those are the folks that are going to be using it, right? Make sure they have the buy-in, and it makes it easier to make that change if you have that support out there. But then if you do get on it, make sure that you're having that conversation regularly. So for example, next week we have our corporate meeting in Bismarck, and Eric's going to be there for one of our roundtables. So we've got probably 80 managers and originators that are going to be there, and he gets the opportunity for the last 3 hours in groups of 7 or 8 to visit with each one of those, and they're going to talk nothing but bushel, right? Whether it's the CRM or the customer portal or whatever it may be. And so that is my suggestion there. But.
Nate, maybe for those that have CRM already that maybe are struggling to implement or anything like that, any tips or tricks you have for those folks that are struggling getting it off the ground? Is there anything that really helped you guys in getting it into the usage that you guys have it at today?
Yeah, I would say, are you talking about from the producer standpoint?
From the internal user standpoint,
okay. Yeah, so just diving into it right away. I mean, for a while there, I was talking to Erik almost every week. These guys are awesome about staying in communication with us if we ever need anything. Text, call, email. But diving into it, one of the big things for myself, and I think a lot of my other coworkers, was having it actually on our phone. You don't have to be at the desktop, and I think the app is actually a little bit more user-friendly and quick as far as speed, where just pull it up. And we do a lot of that, talk into it and go. But overall, there wasn't really a bunch of headaches to get it off the ground, nothing like what we had. So very user-friendly, very straight to the point. You don't have to do a lot of click, click, click. It's just, here's this spot, and then adapting as we find a new meet. Hey, this is something we can do. They look into it. It doesn't happen right away always, but it's being heard and eventually does. So it's been just a great experience.
Awesome. Well, let's give these guys a round of applause. A hand. Thank you guys.
Thank you.